The most important thing about zone defense is understanding that it's all about keeping your shape as a team and, for the most part, staying in position, but really just keeping your shape and marking a space rather than the opponent player. See from the video, we have Ellis, Ezra, Danny, and Jeremiah as our back four line, and our defensive back four are keeping their trapezoidal shape. Even though the opponent, number 3, is making a lateral run, if Danny follows him, takes Danny out of position. But because we're playing zone defense, Danny stayed in his position and our trapezoidal back line is intact. And when number 4 tries to make this run up, he is not able to get past our defensive line. The majority of defense we play during a game is zone defense. The other general form of defending is defending a man or an opposing player. This is called man marking defense. And the reason why we don't do it while the ball is in play and during the game is because if we were to follow the man while they're making their runs laterally, we would be taken out of position. It would create gaps in our defense and the opponent could score through those gaps. Let's watch it one more time. Number 3 makes the lateral run, and number 4 takes that space and attacks on our goal. You can expect a lot of teams to do things like that, where they want to take you out of position with their run, so stay in your position. Because we're playing zone defense, each one of our defenders has an area that they are responsible for defending. The system we use to determine which one of our defenders is responsible for defending which area is based on where the ball is and where our players are in relation to the ball. Suppose that the opponent is attacking down the middle and we are in our trapezoidal back zone defense marking our position. How do we know which space Ellis is responsible for? How do we know which space Israel is responsible for? How do we know which space Danny is responsible for? How do we know which space Jeremiah is responsible for in this particular picture? To determine who's responsible for marking which area, we use this system. As you can see, there's a yellow line between Israel and Ellis. That yellow line is halfway between Israel and Ellis. Ellis is responsible for everything on the left of that yellow line, or in other words, responsible for everything within the orange arrows. Israel is responsible for everything within the blue arrows. Danny is responsible for everything within the purple arrows. Jeremiah is responsible for everything within the red arrows. And if you notice, each player's responsibility ends about halfway near the next player. Now, if we draw a rectangle around the area that each player is responsible for defending, we get this picture where the orange rectangle on the left represents where Ellis is responsible for. The blue rectangle in the middle represents where Israel is responsible for. The purple rectangle is Danny's responsibility, and Jeremiah's responsibility is the red rectangle. If you notice that the outside 2 rectangles are much bigger than the middle 2. In this picture, the opponent is attacking from our right, and we've drawn our yellow lines to establish what area is which player's responsibility for defending. Now that we've shifted to the right, the left is much more open, so Ellis has a much bigger area to defend. In this picture, we see the opponent attacking from the left. We draw yellow lines in at the midpoint between each defender, and we see that the area that Jeremiah is responsible for is now larger. In this picture, we notice that the opponent is attacking from the right, and the dangerous player making the run is in Danny's area. In this picture, the opponent is attacking from the left, and we notice number 3, who's making the dangerous run from the opponent's team, is in Israel's area. During a game, it becomes very important to know who's responsible for what area, because when attackers make runs, they transition from one defender's area to another defender's area. What you're seeing in this footage is the opponent is passing back and going to the opposite side, which causes number 3 to have to change where he's making his dangerous run. And when he's making these runs from one side to the other, he's going out of Danny's zone into Israel's zone into Danny's zone. All we have to do is keep our shape and stay goal side. Okay, now let's watch the game 7v7 in a little bit faster pace, and let's see what this zone defense looks like. We're keeping our trapezoid back. We see number 7 keeps making runs from Danny's space into Israel's space into Keywork's space, and number 4 is also getting involved in that space. If you notice, we're still keeping our shape. We're staying goal side. We have our trapezoid back. It's just shifting from one side to the other, adjusting to where the attack is coming from. The most important thing is staying goal side and staying at an angle where our defensive line is not penetrated grounded and is able to stay in between the player with the ball and the goal to cover our goal. Okay, so here are the key takeaways for understanding zone defense. 1 is keep your trapezoidal shape. 2, stay goal side as a defensive unit. 3, recognize the area of your defensive responsibility and prioritize defending that area rather than defending opponent players, especially when they are making runs out of your area of defensive responsibility.